A second point, a change inside you will bring a change beyond you. Going on to the story of Jacob in Genesis 32, 31 to 32. Now this is at the end of the story. The sun is rising after this wrestling match. And it says, the sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury to his hip. Even today, the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket because of what happened that night when the man strained the tendon of Jacob's hip. And so this one encounter with God has a lasting effect up until even now, the lasting effect on the people all around Israel, the Jewish people entirely. So the change that was brought in Jacob not only affected him, but people around him. Can I tell you today that, listen, when your atmosphere changes, your direction changes. With who and what you surround yourself changes, I promise you, your day-to-day life and the path you are on will change. For the good or for the worse, depending on what we surround ourselves by. But when your direction changes, your destiny changes. And when your destiny changes, people around you will notice and be changed as well. And it is what the Bible talks about, the power of our story. A lot of people get it twisted that your testimony ends when you meet God, and that's not it. Your story is always being written. And there is always something to tell. But the power of your story changes lives. I was at a youth pastor conference in Birmingham a few months back, and they came out with a study that they interviewed thousands of teenagers, both saved and unsaved, all across the country. And they asked them, who is the biggest influence of your life? Who influences you the most in your life? Parents, you may be surprised that you are the top influence in your child's life. I know that they may roll their eyes at you and somehow slam the door and talk back and say, you don't know anything. Well, guess what? When they're by themselves, in the back of their mind, you are absolutely the most influential person in their lives, which leads me to say that, listen, the changes, the atmosphere that you hold in your household and you hold in your life, your children will see that. And it will affect them too. What's also disheartening about that same study is youth pastors were fourth on the list. And I was like, oh, that hurts. It was like parents, friends, teachers, and then right under teachers was youth pastors. So if you're a teacher here today, this also applies to you. And see, so I've seen so many people, it's all at my last church, not you guys, of course, but all at my last church, I had parents coming up to me and be like, my child is acting out. What are you doing wrong? I'm fourth on the list, sir, ma'am. And I don't say that trying to be like, if you're sitting there going, man, my kid sucks at home. He's really bashing me. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to emphasize is the importance of the atmosphere that you have, because it really goes beyond you. And so as I close out, again, man, I always hold up my legacy. Y'all are the first ones to the restaurant today. Congratulations. But as I close out this morning, man, I just want to encourage you. Now listen, it's good to make goals for 2022, for the new year. It's good to have goals. If you're sitting here and you're saying, man, I really want a relationship with God like I had back in so-and-so a year, so-and-so a time. Now, so many people tell me, man, I just wish I had the same relationship with God I had as when I first got saved. Look at what the atmosphere was in your life when you first got saved. Man, that zeal, that passion, how much did you spend with God when you first got saved on a day-to-day basis? Well, what worked before will work again. Man, what was around you? What was surrounding you? So in this new year, man, whether it be like me, and you're just trying to see your feet in 2022, or thank you, I appreciate those laughs. Or you're, or man, you're saying, you know what? These last few years have been rough. They've been rough, and I'm just trying to connect back with God. I'm just trying to hear from him in this craziness that we call life. And I want to encourage you, you can write down these goals, and that's great and all. Man, if the water around you is toxic, there's very little you can do. If we don't change our atmosphere, then we're bound to be that 90% that quits by April. It is absolutely imperative. Well, I love the Pastor Scott that our church this year that we're all focusing on simply Jesus. Because man, too many times we get caught up, and even in the church world, we get caught up in the wrong atmosphere, and we make the wrong things too important in our lives. We make the religious things in our lives and around us, and we're like, oh yeah, this is the thing to cling on to. This is what, yes, but if Jesus isn't in your atmosphere, if a relationship with Jesus isn't in your atmosphere, they're all just things. And you will still find yourself in toxic water. Why is the importance of the church? Why the importance of community? I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, I don't beg you to come to Wednesday nights because I want to go back to Pastor Scott and say, look how many we had. Say, I beg you to come to Wednesday nights because in this craziness of life, man, you need people around you, godly people to lift you up. Everyone, tonight. I'm so used to preaching on Wednesdays.